Hey, it's Tura here, and I want to have a chat about a topic that comes up quite a lot in the type community, and that is whether FI types or introverted feeling types are selfish. I've noticed this one comes up all the time. It's a common question I see, like among sort of type community forums, that sort of thing. So I just want to sort of have a chat about my perspectives on it. What I think is that introverted feeling types or FI types are selfish. That it's 100% is selfish. It's definitely selfishness, but the reason doesn't come from the feeling aspect, it comes from the introverted aspect. And then it depends on what your definition of selfish is. So the introverted aspect puts ourselves as being of a higher priority than anything in the outer world, any other people's thoughts or objects, feelings, opinions, perspectives, it doesn't matter. The introverted aspect puts itself above everything else. That's where the selfishness comes from. It's not selfish in like a stereotypically selfish kind of manner, but it's selfish as in it's a refer to self function. So it's selfish. It's about the self, it's about you, it's about putting the introverted person above everything in the outer world. That's the reason that the introverted feeling types or FI types are selfish, but they're no more selfish in this respect than the introverted thinking types, introverted intuitive types, or the introverted sensation types. They all share the same amounts of selfishness by way of introversion. It's the introverted aspect that makes people selfish in this fashion. I think the problem that a lot of people have in the type community with this kind of selfishness from the what they're seeing as FI types is that these people tend to refer back to themselves and back to their own experience when they're talking to people. Like when you ask them a question or when you sort of go to vent how your day's going, that person might then speak about it from similar things that have happened to them from their own experience. That's not so much the feeling part as it is just the introverted aspect. You're going to get that same kind of thing from any kind of introverted type because it's a refer to self. That's what the introversion is. They refer to their own experience and then it comes out. They don't go straight to you. So selfishness isn't a part of introverted feeling specifically. It's just an aspect of introversion. If we look at the Oxford Dictionary's definition of selfishness, it says it's lacking consideration for other people, concerned chiefly with one's own personal profit or pleasure. The way this relates to personality types, or at least Jungian personality types, is introversion. It's just putting yourself above everything else in the outer world. It's just introversion. Your FI types aren't any more selfish than your TI types, NI types, or SI types. The selfishness that we're talking about, at least here in relation to your personality type, isn't the same as the more sort of narcissistic sort of selfishness that you might get from somebody like Donald Trump, where they're all about everything, them just getting everything for themselves. They want every single transaction they make to have them coming out on top. That's a different kind of selfishness to the selfishness that we're talking about from a personality perspective. There, we're talking about more of like your narcissist, that kind of thing. Donald Trump's an extrovert, he's not an introvert, but he's probably one of the most selfish kinds of people that you could even comprehend. So it's a completely different type of selfishness. So I don't think that FI types in particular are selfish, at least not ordinarily. I think you'd have to judge that sort of individually on an individual sort of basis. But as far as the selfishness goes, as far as the stereotypes go, yes, it makes sense, but not in the negative sort of sense of being selfish. It makes sense from the perspective of the selfishness coming from introversion, not from the feeling and not from them being an introverted feeling type. It just comes from introversion, and all introverts, even if you're only 51% introvert, you're still putting yourself above everything in the outer world most of the time, which means, therefore, you are selfish. Anyway, that's the end of this one. That's my thoughts on, how the introverted feeling types relate to selfishness, because it seems to be like it's a common trope that's sort of thrown around. And I think they are selfish, but no more selfish than any other introverted type, just because introversion is the selfishness. It doesn't come from the feeling, it comes from the introversion. That's it from me. Cheerio out.